Hello everyone, welcome to Fresher Pressure Podcast, where we're here. It's me, I'm joined by
Bree.
And we're here to talk about all the pressures you face as a fresher. Everything from moving in, grades, socialising, how to get the most out of uni. Everything that you face as a student. Today, we're going to be talking about moving in, living independently, everything that's good about that, bad about that, fun, less fun. Bree, how did you experience, moving out, moving into a new place, moving into uni?
When people say moving in is easier than moving out, they're right. But anyways, because you said anyways, moving in, it was such a surreal, bittersweet feeling, because it's like you're leaving home, not for good, but for a long time, for the first time. So you're not used to it. Like your first night sleeping and waking up in a different room, it's just so weird because you're so used to seeing your home, but you're in like a different place, and apparently this is called home now. So it was so strange, but you get used to it as time goes on. But yeah.
Well, for me, really similar. Like when you get there, you get to sleep, you wake up, and it's like, where am I?
Yeah.
You get that moment of, oh my God, I'm on my own.
Yeah.
I've just got strangers all around me.
Literally that.
What am I going to do? And I know that can be quite difficult for a lot of people.
Especially people that are so they've been coddled for their whole lives. So imagine waking up and it's just you, and you don't have your mom or your dad or your brothers or sisters. It's a new feeling that people don't really realize as well. So before we get to that, how did you experience on the day of moving, when you're bringing all your stuff, everyone's around, or maybe not, depending on what time you go to move in? How did you find that? Overstimulating, overwhelming, stressful, because I had both set of my parents there, my parents and their spouses and whatnot, and then my uncle on top of that. It was just too many people, 6 adults, maybe then one 18 or 19-year-old. What's the need for that? There's actually no need. And then I had my brother and my sister. My brother's 2, so he was running around knocking on. It was just too much going on. I just wanted them all to leave, and they did eventually. And then I was sad when they left because I didn't think they were gonna leave so soon. Well, I did, but it's just You
didn't realise what that would be like.
Yeah, I didn't realise how it would be like. And especially moving into a place where you have no friends. So
I remember when I moved in, I got there, and my parents were sorting the stuff. Mm-hmm. So moving all the stuff in, basically just dumped all the bags and said, you're up to unbox them all, right? But on that day, I went out with a few people, met a guy and just went drinking. Just drank the night away.
No, that's nice.
But to me, the moving in experience was you're trying to think, do I need everything? You always forget a half dozen items and you have to go back. But it was quite a smooth move in for me, but adjusting to living on my own was hard.
Mm-hmm. Eating
food. I don't know how you found getting food.
Oh, they took me shopping before they left. So, because I know how to cook and stuff, so I cooked meals, but it was hard controlling the portions because I know how to cook for many people, but I don't know how to cook for one person. So I would have leftovers, and then the leftovers would go off, and then it's just a bit, and then I had to adjust a bit.
Now, when I had the same thing, food brought in, I had a different problem, which was the first lot of food we put in the fridge. It's this went off really fast. The milk curdled within 2 days.
Yeah.
The fridge wasn't fucking on.
Oh.
It was on, but the setting at the top hadn't been turned, it was on minimum setting or just not on.
Oh.
So it was just a cupboard. I just put milk in a cupboard and then it immediately went wrong.
I'd have been so angry.
Yeah. I was annoyed. But sorting all the food out, actually trying to make proper meals, I just couldn't do. Yeah. I was the king of sausage rolls from the cafe or
oh my gosh.
frozen pizza. That was
Fair enough.
what I sustained myself on. Didn't last very long, but that was.
Did you get bored of it very fast?
It's just not good for you at all, and it like when you don't have proper food, you don't realize how it's affecting you.
Mm-hmm.
It was just hard for me to think about like giving up the time to go make something and then doing that every day. That was such a reality shock of like having to make food.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of making food every day, every meal.
Oh, that leads me on to my
Oh my
next
God.
topic. That also like led to it led me to ordering takeout all the time. Literally, I'm even thinking about it right now. But it's like like I just would come home. I'm like, oh, I don't want to cook, and I have a lot of shopping in the fridge as well. I'm like, oh, I want to cook. I'm gonna order something, and I'd order every day. Not every day, like every 2 days. Sometimes when I feel like cooking, I'll cook, and it will be better than what I've ordered. But when you just can't be bothered and it's just at your door and you have the money for it, it's just so easy to get carried away with it as well.
It definitely is. I personally was not a huge. I stuck to my frozen pizzas. No takeaway from me.
Fair enough.
Because I don't know how to use Deliveroo.
You don't know how to use Deliveroo?
I've never used takeout apps, so for me it's twice as hard in terms of like, I'm not having some stranger drive a car up and then be like, here's your food. Like, that sounds so mental. I just wasn't all for that. But I had plenty of other stuff happened with me in my flat.
Okay.
I had some problems with the heating.
The heating, so did I.
What was your problem with the heating?
I never fixed it. Like, it was broken before and I never bothered to fix it. You know what I ended up doing? It was in my blow dryer underneath my blanket. And I turned it on the blow dryer for like 2-3 minutes. But you know the bit where the air goes in, I'll make sure that's out so the air's coming. Air's warming up my bed. As soon as I turn it off, jump into bed and turn off the lights. And yeah, I was not getting out of bed from
there. So your heating just wasn't on?
It just wasn't on.
At all?
And you know what's crazy? Yes. Do you know what's crazy? All of my flatmates got their heaters fixed. I just couldn't be bothered to. Every single one got their heaters fixed. I just couldn't be bothered to. I feel like it's because I don't want to keep calling the maintenance man because, you know, there's 6 of us in the flat. You don't want to come to the same flat 6 times. You'd rather just do it in one go because they all called at different times. So I just don't want to be that last person to be like, oh, my heat's not working.
So you just thought, I'll just be cold.
Yeah.
I had the opposite problem, which was my heater. If you know, if you do washing and drying at uni, it's often you get the stuff out of the dryer and it's still damp. Even if you pay, it comes out and you're like...
Damp, yeah.
So I would stick some on the radiator, hang some up, wherever I could hang it. So I just turn the radiator up to, you know, top level, just need to, you know, dry off these things. And I go to change it back and the knob comes off in my hand. Unfortunate. Tried to put it back on.
Didn't work.
No luck. Turns out I spent the next 2 weeks in like a 30-degree room.
Oh my gosh.
You might say you could have opened the window. Yes. I was sandwiched in between an upper flat and a lower flat, which were party animals.
So
these 2 flats just did not care. They were running up and down in the night, screaming, music blaring. If you were trying to sleep, you had the choice of trying to sleep in like desert sun or just in like a night. People just screaming every few seconds. So it was a tough couple weeks before, and that was with maintenance knowing. They took them 2 weeks to come and sort it.
They did that on purpose. I don't know. That just seems evil.
They were just testing me.
Yeah.
Right, we have an interview coming up, so we're going to throw to that interview over now. Hello, I am back, and we're joined with a guest.
I'm Ava. I'm a second-year creative film student at Northampton Uni.
Well, thank you for joining us, Ava. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience of moving in and living independently at uni?
So, to begin with, I live like roughly an hour and a half away near Hertfordshire, or in Hertfordshire, and I had to begin with finding a move and actually had to book the date for when we enrolled and arrived which they left it quite late to send out the link to do that. So it was a bit stressful because I obviously had to ask people, oh, can you give me a lift to help me move in? Then they ask what date. I'm like, good question. I'll let you know when I know. So I had to do that to begin with, which was stressful enough. Then there's obviously the whole packing and loading up and then getting here, which the directions were quite good. They sent you the information for if you had to do park and ride, or if you had, like, which car park to park in if you were getting a car here yourself, which that made it easier. But then the next obstacle was when getting here, you had to figure out what you were meant to be doing. And so I kind of wandered around a bit by myself, then saw one of the, I think, student representatives in a blue jacket that said, oh, go to the Learning Hub, which is just like round that corner, and go and line up and do your face-to-face enrolment. So I went there, saw loads of people. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. I stood in line, and then I had to just wait there while they did it because there were so many people. And obviously you had to do setting up your email and then figure out, they registered you to vote if you wanted to. It was just a very long process, that one particular part. Then you had to pick up, if you got any student perks like the laptop, you had to pick that up there as well. So you did that, and then you had to go and pick up your keys in another building. So I was like, where am I going now? Again, wandered until I found the Creative Hub, and then went in there, picked up my keys, and then it was sort of, you're on your own, find your accommodation. I was like, okay then. So I went back to my car, and then I'm like, yeah, so I need to find a building called John Clare, and then find which flat I'm in. So I sort of picked up one of my boxes, then went wandering. I found a building that said John Clare on the side, so obviously I walked in, and then I sort of didn't know which way I was going around because it's quite complicated, those flats, because it's sort of, oh, if you turn this way, it's block like A and B, this way is C and D. It's just like, okay, what is happening? Then I found block A, which is the one I was in, so it was sort of, oh, just go in and out, moving in, carrying each boxes individually, which was stressful enough because it's a lot of heavy lifting. So it's just sort of back and forth, very tiring. Not many people had moved in by that point. So I'd only met like maybe one or two of my flatmates. They all said hi, offered to help if we needed it. Then I was sort of getting a feel of the place, what my room was like, what my bathroom was like, and then the kitchen in the living room area. So it was all right. It was a bit stressful at times because it wasn't very informative with the actual process of moving in. More of rules, regulations, sort of that stuff was very clear, very informed on that through sort of online like lectures and stuff like that. They did those to tell you like the accommodation rules and how it worked, but didn't do very much information on the where you needed to go when you got there, the map of the place. Because when you go onto the accommodation website and click on the map section, it doesn't work. So it's like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. It did not work in the slightest. It still doesn't, actually. So it's sort of just like you're on your own. Go and look until you find it.
So they gave you the scavenger hunt version of moving in.
Yeah, it was, where's Wally with your flat?
So once you managed to track down your flat, when you actually started living independently, what was that like?
Well, it was my first time living independently because I was very used to, for the first, 18, 19 years of my life, I'd lived with my mum, my brother, and my sister. So I was used to some people around me at all times, being in the house with people and knowing them, because obviously they're my family, I know them. But living independently was quite an adjustment because it's obviously, once whoever moved you in goes, you're on your own, you're sitting in your room this is what it's like to be on my own now, this is fun. So then it was all right because I'd had a bit of experience with sort of cooking and stuff like that, so that was all right. And then it's sort of getting used to cleaning up after yourself all over again, but also focusing on that one space because it's what you have to clean up on your own. Then there's also cooking, washing up, buying your own food, shopping, managing your finances, also getting along with people that you never met before or had only spoken to over sort of things like the 2024 to 25 starter Facebook groups. So you still don't know who they are, but you've talked to them a bit to begin with. But it was all right. I sort of sat there for a bit, just okay, I need to adjust. It's okay. It's not like I'm never seeing anyone from my family again. It's just for a bit until you go home. So you do get a bit of homesickness when you first start because you're so used to one thing and you change to a completely different, a new city, a new house, stuff like that. I was lucky my flatmates were quite nice, so I got to know them quite a bit. Obviously, not everyone gels, so you do have some tension at different points throughout the year, especially when you get later into the year near holidays, where there might be some feelings of missing family and being around them, or other people coming from certain backgrounds, so they do stuff differently than you do, like washing up. Some people leave it to soak and then wash it up a bit later. Some people prefer to wash it up straight away. So that caused a bit of tension in our flat, and also people sort of bringing people around that weren't as respectful as the person who was actually living there, or people dyeing their hair in the living room and staining the carpet, and you being worried that will be taken out of your deposit at the end of the year. So that did cause a couple of bits of argument within the flat. But overall, everyone respected each other's space, and that quite well. We worked really well together when it came to cleaning the living room areas when we had inspections. So it wasn't too bad first year.
It sounds like there's a lot of managing different things. So
Yeah.
you've got, shopping, and then working with the flat, and then obviously you're at uni to study. How did you try and balance those kind of aspects of social life and studying and then looking after yourself?
Studying, I was quite an academic kid. I still am, but more so when I first started in first year. I did focus quite a lot on my studies more than my social life or just actually living in my house. But I made friends with people. I met other people through people I'd met. They did VIP days, which were quite a good chance to go stay the night. If you were over the age of 18, you could stay there in one of the accommodations. You did activities throughout the day, you met new people. I stayed in contact with one of the people I met there, so I knew him already. And then you go out, I sort of bumped into him when I was out, and then I ended up going back with him, meeting people he was with, and made friends with them. So that was quite an easy in for me with social-wise, because I knew people and then I met other people. So it's quite good also to build a strong bond between people you meet, because that can help stave away sort of homesickness or missing your friends that you obviously have back wherever you live. So that was quite good. And then managing my actual house life, I struggled to adjust to that to start with. My room got messy at times and I was like, oh, this is all a lot to deal with at once. But once you settle in after maybe a month or two, you get used to getting into that routine of cleaning up. And then also food shopping, you can either do it weekly or monthly. It all depends on how you handle your finances, which is stressful and nerve-wracking to begin with, because you're like, there's so much money and I don't know what to do with it, because obviously I have to budget accommodation, I have to budget food shopping, having a social life. It is very stressful. The uni is quite good with that, because they do have things you can go to get advice with how to manage your finances, which was a good sort of crutch to fall back to if you struggled too much. So it was an adjustment, I will admit, but I did get used to it after a bit of time, and now second year started. I had that whole experience first year, so I feel I manage it a lot better now second year.
That's brilliant. I have time for one quick question, which is, if you just had one little bit of advice for someone who's nervous about living on their own and, not sure what they're going to do, what would that be?
Don't beat yourself up if you feel like you don't deserve to feel all of this homesickness because of where you are. You can. So many other people at the uni probably feel the exact same, and don't be scared to use the resources around you. The uni has quite good things to help if you need someone to talk to, or if you need help managing finances and sort of bursaries and stuff like that to help as well. Don't feel like you can't go to anyone for help, because you can, and you're not alone in feeling so nervous or upset or anxious.
Well, thank you so much, Ava.
No worries.
And we'll be back to some quick fire questions and answers. Okay, that's wonderful stuff from Ava. Now, we've got really quickly some quick fire Q&As. I want to hear what you think about these kind of questions. Quickly. Really efficient, quick. What's your go-to meal? If you just want to make a quick, healthy meal, really top stuff at uni, that doesn't take any time at all.
Pasta bolognese with garlic bread and salad. Chef's kiss.
Sounds lovely and healthy.
It's beautiful.
That's your go-to?
Yeah. If you taste how I make it, you will not go back. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you. I'm telling you guys, you would love it.
I'm listening.
I'm telling you guys.
Well, for me, I think I would go for something if you get it's Uncle Ben's rice.
Yeah.
much less
Yeah.
much less professional. But if you get Uncle Ben's rice and some like chicken, just pop a bit of seasoning on it, stick it in some oil, stick it in the oven for 20-30 minutes. I don't know. That sounds fine. Microwave your rice. You've got kind of, especially if you pick like the vegetable rice, you've got an Uncle Ben. Just
Chicken
got
and
chicken and
rice.
rice, really easy.
Nice. And you got your five a day in there.
Not too much washing up.
Exactly. Think smarter, not harder.
Now, quickly, one more. Balancing social life and study. What's your top tips?
I don't have a social life, so this is what you have to do. Just go to the library. Go to your lectures. I promise you guys, please go to your lectures. You will have an assignment and you'll think, flipping heck, I should have attended that lecture when he was explaining it. Yeah, you should have. It could have helped you. I've been in that predicament so many times. And if you do have a social life at uni, please put your work first. Please put your work first. When the fun stops, stop.
My top tip is get out there and start drinking. Just get hammered. No, but you should really join some societies and go socialise. Make sure you go out and have a few drinks. Don't do anything you don't want to do. You can always say no. But getting out in a society, meeting a few people, especially if you go to like training, stuff like that in the evenings, where it shouldn't be disturbing your study, gives you something to look forward to in the week. But yeah, study is super important.
Please.
Making sure your attendance is really good.
Make sure. If it's above 75, you're doing something good. If it's below 50...
Right. Exactly. Below 50, up your game. That is all we've got time for. Thank you so much for listening. It's been Hayden.
I'm Bree.
And we'll see you next week.